If you really look at the footage, he's making perfect sense.
Ask you a question.
Yes, go on.
Why should you forgive yourself because a boy falls before you?
Don't understand.
Idiot. He said, why should you forgive yourself because a boy falls before you? What's so complicated about that?
Somebody that knows no ill, really, that comes to a palais de danse and dances around the place, or jiggles his heels in the air because he's a Celt. Why should he go down, and how do you forgive yourself because he's a better dancer?
What he's saying is, if somebody that knows no ill, really, comes to a palais de danse and dances around the place, who tickles his heels in the air because he's a Celt, why should he go down, and how do you forgive yourself because he's a better dancer? I mean, that's a good question. And why should he? And should you forgive yourself? You know, no one's asking these questions, are they? This is better than Plato.
Effectively, it was the blockade, and then in the 1930s...
Oh, yeah, you're all bloody generals, aren't you? You're all so bloody smart that that's where you're going to move your tanks around, and the next thing you're going to...
You're the only one...
That is actually a very incisive analysis of modern warfare. I mean, tactically, he's up to the mark. I, for one, would love to see him as a battlefield... You know, in a battlefield situation, if he was still alive, why not? I mean, it's a waste.
We are defining
rights. We're not talking about you at all your attitudes, because when we come down there with the old smoky below, we ought to come off on the big old bots and go in there and say, what are you going to have, sunshine?
But you see, Oliver, you don't really believe
that's
that.
Where we come, that's where we're going to go. That's where we are, the witches and the witches, and they're all going to go, woo, the boys, and the big old choppers, we're going to go down there.
And here again, we see a broad failure to correctly interpret Oliver's argument. When we come down there with the woolly old smoky blowy on the come off on the big old bikes and go down there and say, what are we? Well, sunshine. That's where we came, sunshine. That's when the witches and the women all go, woo, and a big old chopper, and we're going to go down there, lads.
No, I'm just...
Which, to summarise, is basically, you're all talking bollocks, and I'm not.
Reflecting on what you had said.
What time is it now?
It's almost time.
20 to 1 nearly.
Almost time for the
I won't
adverts,
talk
you
till
see.
1 o'clock.
I don't.
And let's see how you lot go on.
And who remembers what they were saying when Ollie withheld his wisdom? No one. Not one word. I rest my case.
That was
You were teaching it.
A talk show has all the right conditions for a full-on TV disaster. Egos like barrage balloons, a shortage of guests who've got anything worth saying, and gallons of booze in the green room. As Tracy Emin so memorably said,
The ultimate thing is...
And the paintings change as one does that. The paintings also change in...
Amazingly, Tracy Emin came out of this display quite well.
Are there really real people in England watching this programme now? Are they really watching it? Real people watching this programme.
Why are you asking that question,
They're probably as real as you are, Tracy, let's face it.
They're just 25 minutes behind us. Think about that.
I don't understand what she's so upset about. I mean, it seems to be people discussing art in suits. Is that wrong? And what are real people? If those people aren't real, they must be the most articulate robots ever built.
How many artists are here from that show, from Sensation? I'm here, I'm drunk, had a good night out with my friends, and I'm leaving now. I'm going to be with my friends, I'm going to be with my mum, I'm going to phone her, and she's going to be embarrassed about this conversation.
The problem here is Tracy said yes to joining an arts discussion and yes to booze, and she should have said no to one of them.
You aren't relating to me now. You've lost me. You've lost me completely.
Do you think it's a generational thing, Tracy? Do you think that the art world is...
No, I don't think it is a generation thing at all. He is fantastic, fucking excellent. That man there.
Yes.
No, you.
I don't think he was referring to
Look
me.
at the man. No, look at that man there.
Oh, I thought it was
jacket.
me. Oh,
But nevertheless, it's still...
That's what happens when you point with a broken finger.
There's nowhere when there's fucking mic on me. Now, I want to put it off. I want to be free.
Well, we're joined now by musician Shane MacGowan, who's just come straight from a live concert at the Royal Albert Hall.
I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll book political commentator Shane MacGowan directly after a gig.
I see you're proudly sitting there having a fag on air.
That producer is now blowing leaves in a park.
It's hardly going to affect things at all. So.
You don't think it'll affect anything in Ireland? I mean, what will it be like to go to Ireland and not be able to smoke?
Well, the guards aren't going to enforce it.
This, of course, is another yes-yes scenario.
They're not going to enforce it, yeah.
Well, it's...
And, like, you know, I know lots of pub stuff in Ireland, you know, they don't, you know, like...
There's a great episode of Mr. Ben where he puts on a Shane MacGowan outfit and spends an afternoon shouting at pigeons and combing his hair with a shoe.
I mean, they don't want to lose their jobs because people stop using a pub where you can't smoke. Well, look, I mean, what I'm saying is that like in the city in Ireland and in some towns or whatever, yeah? But like,
this was recorded during Lent when Shane was on a verb fast.
I brought this in New York. Businesses didn't go bust. Bars did stay open.
Well, I mean, yeah, and they had a war with Iraq, you know. Well, I mean,
I don't think you can correlate smoking with that.
Yeah, I mean, but like,
I know that you think you're changing the world, but you're not. You're making jokes.
No one's asking us to change the world.
I'll come right back to you, because you haven't got a chip on it, so you've got Vindaloo.
Keith,
that's a joke. Look at it. He's got Vindaloo on his shoulder.
Keith, hold it.
Hold it.
It's the best gag.
You are either going to get
now, if you take issue with the opinions offered by your fellow guests,
kind of American thing. Yes. You're going to get jokes.
You may decide to withdraw your participation.
I know that all your sensitivities.
Here's Keith Allen withdrawing his.
God, you're so thick. I'm going home, man. You're so fucking dead. You really are dead. Okay. And I like your telephone manner. It's nice. I'm sorry I'm picking on you, but all of you, and the producer bastard up there, all of you, you're dead.
Come back and finish the dinner.
Fuck off.
Finish the conversation.
Fuck off. How dare you? You cannot see the truth that is being rammed down your throat. You want a programme about a situation comedy.
This is a masterclass in how not to do it.
Come on.
If you want to see how to do it properly, here's Ollie.
do you want me to go?
No. I'd love it if you would. I think you're an awful bully. And I think it's appalling that anybody should have to put up with it.
Do you want me to go?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do.
Gentlemen?
I think you should.
I think that's the collective opinion.
Good night.
Good night, gentlemen.
Good night.
Ladies. Good night.
Good night.
And he's gone. Oliver Read, king of the walkout.